Waves. 6'7", 215-pound junior from San Francisco, number 34, Orlando Phillips. At forward for the Beavers, at 6'7", 205-pound freshman from Portland, Oregon, number 45, A.C. Green. For the Waves at forward, 6'6", 235-pound junior from New York, number 54, Bill Sadler. The other forward for the Beavers, number 44, 6'4", 190-pound junior from Flint, Michigan, Danny Evans. At center for the Waves, 6'9", 210-pound junior from Covina, number 42, Scott McCollum. At center for Oregon State, 6'8", 201-pound sophomore from McMinnville, number 52, Charlie Sitton. At guard for the Waves, 6'3", 175-pound senior from Macon, Georgia, number 25, Boot Bond. At guard for the Beavers, 6'1", 193-pound junior from Berkeley, California, number 34, William Brew. The other guard for the Waves, 6'3", 1 junior from Los Angeles, number 14, Dane Suttle. And the guard for the Beavers, 6'4", 180-pound senior from Oakland, California, number 32, Lester Connor. The head coach of the Pepperdine Waves, Jim Harrick. The head coach of the Oregon State Beavers, Ralph Miller.
Okay, we'll be right back for the start of the game after this message. Okay, here are the starters for Pepperdine. Phillips, Bond, McCollum, Sadler, and Suttle. Key guy is Bond. Connor, number 32, the key man for Oregon State. Evans up front, Sitton in the middle, Green and Brew. George Raveling, we should have ourselves a dandy. We had a great one the first game. If it's anything like the second, we're in good shape. Don Rutledge will throw it up. He is the referee today. Jack Hannum, one of the umpires, along with Stanley Reynolds. We're set. We're off.
Pepperdine has never beaten Oregon State, so this is a big incentive for them.
Number 14 for the Wave is Dane Suttle, the junior out of Los Angeles. This is Bond. He can fill it up. He'll light him up. Oregon State in that 1-2-2 that looks so much like a matchup. This is McCollum. Oh, look at this. We've got a traveling call immediately. When you jump, you either pass or shoot before the pivot foot comes to the ground. So the first turnover to Oregon State. Setting the line of 45 for the Beavers is Green. Doesn't shoot a lot except from in close. Here's the man that must penetrate, get it done.
2-3 zone.
Lester the molester. His game is penetration. Now he's cutting.
The guy,
34.
that's a shot right there. He'll make a high percentage of those, though, Irv.
All right, this is Orlando Phillips, who looks so tough against Pittsburgh. 25 is Bond. This is Sadler's got great vision. Puts it up, but it's down. We've got a foul immediately. The foul on number 44 for Oregon State, Danny Evans. So Sadler off to a very good start. Jack Cannon gives us the indication. Could have a possible three-point play to open up, George.
The Sadler's built like a tight end.
This is the first one. McCollum pushes off and gets away with it. Goes back up. Inside, Connor's the leading rebounder. Blocks out very nicely. And Oregon State gets the ball. Isn't it unusual for a guard to lead his club in rebounds? That's the case, though, George, with Lester the molester Connors.
He's got excellent reactions to the basketball. I would look for Evans to be the key guy here to hurt Pepperdine against the zone. As the game progresses, if they leave Evans standing out there in that wing by himself, they're going to be in for a difficult evening because he is an excellent shooter.
44 for the Beavers is Evans. Compliments Lester the molester. Here's Charlie Sitton. Misses, counters with an offensive board, goes back up. He's got it.
There it is. You talked about his rebounding, and he exhibited it for you.
Here's the pressure, full court. Ralph Miller at a luncheon yesterday looked Jimmy Harrick right in the eye and said, Jimmy, you better get a lot of rest. I'm going to press you 40 minutes.
He told him that.
14 to Suttle.
One of the things that you'll notice about this Oregon State team is their tremendous ability to communicate defensively. You don't see a lot of teams communicating defensively as a team, but they do a good job.
Mismatch that time, and number 34 sneaking in. Orlando Phillips picks up a bucket. Looked easy.
He only played 22 minutes against Oregon State in that first game.
Stanley Reynolds spots a foul on number 54 for Pepperdine. That is Bill Sadler. Let's take another look. 44 going up very strong. Danny Evans unable to get it.
Pushing the back by Sadler there.
Sitton is 52 with the basketball. Connors will go all over the floor. He is the guy for Ralph Miller. There's Lester, excellent passer. This is Holbrook, and he can fill him up. Misses that one, but look at Green. No basket.
As we mentioned at the top of the show, this youngster here is a very fine rebounder. He's only a freshman out of Portland, Oregon. He played at Benson Tech High School, where Richard Washington, an excellent UCLA player, came from.
Oregon State with the basketball. We've played just 2 minutes and 40 seconds. This is Holbrook.
43 Holbrook is also an outstanding shooter. He has a tendency to shoot more of a set shot than a real jump shot. Now they'll probe. Now you're not going to see them come down and burp it up. They'll probe until they get the kind of shot they want.
Here's a steal. This kid can play. Watch the acceleration. Boot Bond with great open court quickness. Misses a puppy.
There's Lester Connors at the rebounding end again. Oh, how about that for an unselfish play, Irv?
Excellent by Charlie Sitton, a coach's player on the court. AC Green goes under, something that Pepperdine is in serious trouble with. They do go to the boards with their offensive guards, George.
Here's the long outlet by Lester Connors there. Here's Charlie Sitton. A lot of guys would have taken that in for the score. Very unselfish play there. While we were looking at the replay, Ralph Miller stood up and he motioned to Holbrook, and he told him that he wanted him to keep shooting the basketball, trying to instill a little confidence in him so he wouldn't be uptight when he got the ball against the zone. It's always makes the player feel better to know, hey, coach wants me to shoot the ball if I'm open.
Well, George, you make good sense, and of course, being the coach at Washington State, it's just like a pinch hitter. If you're constantly looking over your shoulder, you're not going to play well. This is Suttle. Suttle walks with the basketball. Turnover time for Pepperdine. We're even at 1 as far as turnovers. I beg your pardon. Make that 2. AC Green will inbound. 32 is Lester the molester.
The pros are looking very keenly at him as a point guard at the pro level.
Who's a better ball player in your league, George? Lester or Anderson out of Southern California?
Well, I think that Anderson might be a more gifted athlete, but I'm not sure he's a better player than Lester Connor. Both of them contribute tremendously to their team's success this year. Anderson at Southern Cal, and of course Connors here at Oregon State.
That was Holbrook with the bucket. 7-4 Oregon State. This is Phillips. Suttle, very strong guard along with Bond. Settle from a long way away, doesn't get it. There's Bond, he can do a little bit of everything.
Irv, Holbrook is a streak shooter. If he hits a couple more here, Pepperdine could be in trouble because he really is a good shooter.
Well, that's great hustle by Bond. He pumps it up twice, doesn't get it, goes up and gets a rebound, and Holbrook picks up the foul. Look at Bond, George, as he just does a little bit of everything for the Wave.
Boy, the guards are doing a lot of rebounding here. And he took the ball to the basket with a lot of authority.
You make the point the guards are doing a lot of rebounding, but you do not get back on the break when you rebound.
That's an excellent point.
Oregon State burned the Wave with a Sitton to Green pass for a layup. First one is a miss for Boot Bond. Bond picks up the second one. He's 6'3", a senior from Macon, Georgia. Here's a pick. Suttle's got it. This is Suttle, wild off the board. There's Green, they want to run, and they throw it away. Ralph Miller's up, clapping his hands. You gotta love Ralph Miller.
Oh, yeah.
Very dry sense of humor, one of the funniest men I know.
Trying to keep the freshmen settled down. He told them, good job, don't worry about it.
Here's Big Phillip. Boy, he got inside awful easy. Ralph Miller is very happy about that. When I came out to work the Pac-10, I look at Ralph Miller. Miller says, well, Brown, you refereed me at Wichita, at Iowa, and now out here, and you ain't getting any better. Lester Connors.
That sounds like Ralph.
Connors has 4, 9-7, Beavers. 15-13 remaining.
Oregon State's going to come back with Danny Evans there. It'll be interesting to see who they take out. If they might take Brew out and move Connors to the point.
This is McCollum, does a lot of things that doesn't show up. Good no call by Jack Hannum. The contact wasn't that much. Okay, there's a timeout on the court with the score. Oregon State 9, Pepperdine 7. With George Raveling, the head coach at Washington State University. George filling in. We had our main man, Fred White, come down with laryngitis. We grabbed you out of the stands. You did a great job in the first game. We're back here for this one. We may make you an announcer, George.
Oregon State's got 7 rebounds and Pepperdine 4, and most of those rebounds by Oregon State have been by Lester Connors.
All right, inside, Sadler, good move. Sadler puts it in, and it's an easy one. Sadler has 4 along with Phillips. They're the offense thus far for Pepperdine.
Pepperdine's 4 for 9 from the field, and Oregon State is 4 for 9 also. Both teams shooting 44%.
George, are you surprised how easy Pepperdine has been able to get it inside against, Oregon State?
I think that what you'll see is Ralph will adjust, and he'll start fronting the post in there. It's going to be somewhat difficult for Charlie Sitton to defend Sadler from behind because of the difference in the physical structure. Sadler's got the more weight and a big behind, and that's a plus factor for him in making his offensive movements.
Well, I think you make great sense because that is very true. You do not jump the basketball up in college ball after the initial one. That's why it was out of bounds. Danny Evans didn't have a very pretty shot. It was flat, but it goes down.
I'll tell you what, don't let him come unglued.
Evans' first bucket of the night. His ball club leads 11-9. Hey, how could you not be a player with the name Boot Bond?
I tell you, I love it. I love it.
Play if his name.
That's one of the great things about athletics, boy. Some super names.
Gotta have them.
Bond. What'd I tell you?
Hey, you got it, Coach. Danny Evans has 4. George Raveling coaches in the Pac-10. He knows Oregon State like the back of his hand. Looky here. Bond has 5.
We might not have enough spaces up there on the board the way this is going.
And with all the slowdown games we've seen this year, they're going to light them up today in Pullman, Washington. Friel Court, named for Jack Friel. He's here today. He's 80 years old. He looks good.
Night.
Oh, my goodness. Holy God. Hey, Jimmy Harrick shaking his head.
This is a Danny Evans Boot Bond show. Welcome, America.
Danny Evans.
They're playing Can You Top This?
6 points for
there's
Evans.
Boot Bond.
All right,
Evans
inside.
on him.
Look at this inside. It's a piece of cake. Doesn't go. There's Suttle, the offensive guard, going to the board. Picks up a bucket. That's the first one. We're tied at 15. This one could go all the way just like the Idaho-Iowa game decided in overtime. Idaho, out of the Big Sky, advances. Already advancing in the far west. Fresno State, coached by Boyd Grant.
Irv, I look as the game progresses for Oregon State to exploit the fact that Pepperdine's sending their guards to the offensive boards to rebound. If they can get that long outlet pass, they're going to pick up some easy baskets.
We're talking about the far west. Georgetown under John Thompson beat Wyoming to advance. There's the boards. AC Green goes up strong and won't stay down. Green still battles. Rebound to Sadler. You make a good point about Sadler. You look at the big behind there. Those are the guys that are tough to get around. Jumpers buried by Suttle. Suttle has 4. 17-15. Pepperdine takes the lead for the first time. 2-3 zone for the Wave. Jump shot is down, and the foul on Boot Bond. Number 34 for Oregon State. William Brew buries one.
Irv, one of the things that's very characteristic of all Oregon State players, when they shoot the jump shot, they will always come to a jump stop, gather themselves, and go up. You notice when they catch the ball, they'll catch the ball and then come to a jump stop and go straight up.
A very good point. George Raveling, the head coach of Washington State. 52, Victor Anger is in the basketball game. One point that I've always felt about Ralph Miller, they work a great deal on footwork. You only handle a basketball 4 minutes in the game. Your feet are active for 40. There's a miss. We're tied at 17. Wilson into the basketball game. An excellent passer, George.
Yes, and could start for most teams. There's Lester Connors. Excellent anticipation.
There's the long outlet George was talking about. Oh, they miss it. And Wilson comes up with a steal. Good quick, because we had a couple of very quick ball clubs.
This youngster here with the basketball would be a starter at a lot of schools.
This is Wilson. 6'2" sophomore out of Compton, averaging 5 points a game. All right, inside 54, Sadler picks up the foul, and a technical on Sadler. Stanley Reynolds out of the Big 8 Conference. You suppose that he
Jim Harrick's up objecting to the call. He better watch out. He's liable to pick one up, too.
You suppose Sadler was questioning his birth? Let's take another look.
Look at Harrick. Harrick's going to pick one up here himself.
Jimmy's got to be careful now. He's coming out.
He's going to get another one here. If he's going to get it, this is probably the best time of the game to get it, if there is a good time.
Harrick is very intense. Made his mark as a high school coach in the Los Angeles area. Paid his dues at Utah State, UCLA, got his chance. He's been a very fine head coach in only 2 years. Did an excellent job this year in the WCAC.
He's going to work the officials early here.
Do coaches do that, George?
Do they do it?
32 is Lester Connor. Lester the molester. If there's a better one in the country, a lot of people want to know who it is. This is Charlie Sitton. Looks good. It's long. Good board by Victor Anger. This is Wilson.
Irv, this is Oregon State's best shooting team on the floor right now. They do not have a bad shooter on the floor right now.
The Beavers in man. This is Wilson. Pepperdine in their passing game, and there's a hard push through a pick by number 44. 44 is Andre, I beg your pardon. 44 is Grant Gunn. So Evans picks up his second team foul. I believe we said Gondrzak. He plays for Pepperdine. Remember brother Glenn, who played at UNLV, is now Connors picks up the foul, goes for the basketball. Wilson maintains his position. That's 5 team fouls for Pepperdine, 3 on Oregon State. The ball will be inbounded. We don't shoot until 7. 10:52 remaining. We're tied at 17. Glad to have you with us. Irv Brown and George Raveling up in the Palouse, Pullman, Washington.
Okay, now they're in the matchup zone. They're in the matchup zone that time.
The quick hands of Lester Connors. He pulls up, he looks, he's got a man wide open.
There it is.
Excellent pass.
See, once again, the fact that the Pepperdine guards are getting so far in offensively, they cannot get back for transition defense.
And the point that you make, too, how many offensive rebounds do guards get? Don Rutledge calls a timeout on himself as he pulled a hamstring. He pulled a hamstring. The alternate, John Alderton, who works your league, George, will come on.
There it is right there. You can see his hand on his leg. He pulled a muscle there. And he's done an outstanding job of officiating in this tournament.
And we pointed out at the beginning, 3 go on. So John Alderton has been sitting down in this cold. They ought to give him a chance to warm up. This is one of those unforeseen things that you don't count on, but that's why you have an alternate. Alderton from the Pac-10 Conference will come in. One of the problems here, while they do give him time to get loose, the teams are going to the benches, is that they're going to lose their sweat. He's trying to stay in. Can he stay in? I don't know. He's got to be taped.
You got to admire him, though, for wanting to stay with it. The officials are just as competitive as the players are. There's an awful lot of pride in this for him. He wants an opportunity to work the national finals, and his performance out here at the tournament has been such that he's certainly got to be a strong consideration.
I'll tell you how he can stay in, George. This is the beauty of 3-man officiating. He can be the center official and not switch at all. You can just rotate there because there's not that much movement. That's John Alderton on the left.
And John hasn't taken his jacket off yet, so it doesn't appear to be that John is going to go in as the alternate official. We have the supervisor of officials from the Pac-10 Conference. Frank McIntyre here. He's up in the press row shortly, straight up from where the official is standing right now. And we look at the monitor, we can see Andy Geiger in the white sweater in the background there. He's the tournament director and also the athletic director at Stanford University. And I would imagine between himself and Frank McIntyre, I see Frank McIntyre is now coming down to discuss this matter with Andy Geiger there at the scores table.
Alderton is going up the runway to get loose, so they do have a decision to make.
If we can get our camera over there on the scores table, Frank McIntyre and Andy Geiger have just discussed the matter, and Frank is returning to his seat up in press row.
I'll tell you what has to be done. I'll tell you what has to be done, though. They've got to wrap him. There's no way he's going to be able to continue like this. He'd be running stiff-legged. It looks to me like
there he is now. He's discussing it with Frank McIntyre, the supervisor officials from the Pac-10 Conference and that. And I'm sure that Frank's offered him some advice. I think what Frank is telling them, let Alderton come in for a while. You take a seat. Let's see if we can get this situation treated and then come back. Now, is he allowed to come back?
Yes, he could. They'll have to take him out. I don't think we're going to see him. He's getting a hand. Have you ever seen a referee get a hand?
Well, I tell you what, it is a novel situation. I've seen him get a hand, but not applause.
Oh, really? So an unfortunate turn of events. 1 for the official, Don Rutledge. 2 for the tempo of this basketball game, because it's been a good tempo. 10:21 remaining. 19-17 is our score. John Alderton, this is why you have an alternate. You take no chances in an NCAA tournament. Now, if this were a regular ball game, if there are 3 officials, you'd go with 2. If there are 2, you'd go with 1.
Irv, we got an interesting situation here now. That the tournament committee has tried to avoid having an official officiating a game where one of the teams from his conference is playing. And now we have Alderton, who's a Pac-10 official, calling the game. But, of course, this is an emergency situation here. Alderton's out of Portland, Oregon.
You make a great point, George. Here's another look as Green picks up the foul, and you could have a case for the foul going the other way on Sadler.
Right, I think Sadler precipitated that foul right there, but a lot of times the official always see the retaliatory move.
It's a good point. Team fouls even at 5. This is McCollum trying to get the ball in low to Phillips. He's been very effective. There it is, alley-oop, and it's a piece of cake. Oh, Orlando Phillips, having his own way, now has 6.
Irv, Jim Harrick came out in the paper this morning and said it was going to be a different ball game, and one of the things he reminded Ralph Miller and the Beavers of was the fact that Orlando Phillips did not play much in the first meeting of the 2 teams.
Beavers are going to have to get backside help if Holbrook is going to front him, because Phillips has had his own way. They're looking inside. This is Suttle. There they go inside to Anger. Anger walks. There's a timeout on the court with the score tied at 19. 37% and the Wave 60, most of it inside the paint. That's the difference. All right, this is Sitton in the corner.
Oregon State still going with their best outside shooting team against the zone here.
Good ball.
There it is.
Holbrook looks like he's got it. It's a little long.
There's the Connors again rebounding the ball.
And there's the brick thrown up by number 44, Danny Evans. Evans, who was shot well early with 6, just was very short. All right, here's full court pressure, something we'll see the entire ball game.
Ralph Miller didn't agree with that call at all. He thought the ball was deflected by one of the Pepperdine players.
He says, my man does not shoot the ball that bad. The call stands inside to Anger, and there is a good steal. Number 44, Evans picks it up. This is Green to Holbrook. Skip pass. There's Charlie. Charlie Sitton for 2.
Nice teamwork. Boy, did they play well together. Oregon State's getting ready to come back with Brew now. We'll see if they'll go with that 3-guard lineup in there and replace Holbrook, or will they leave Holbrook and take out Danny Evans.
They're trying to go inside to Anger. Sadler at the top. Here's the movement by Pepperdine against the Beaver zone. This is Bond. He can fill it up. Good penetration. Gives Wilson easy when he can't handle it. Here come the Beavers.
Really a fine rebounder. Irv, I start to sense some...
Here's another look, George. as Green gets hit a little bit. Not much of a foul, but it has to be called because it made him travel.
I started to say before we had the replay there that I think that what's happening now is Oregon State is starting to exploit the fact that Pepperdine's getting their guards inside too deep on offense now because they're getting two guys out very quickly when the shot goes up.
Suttle for Bond in the Wave lineup. Here's the shot from the outside. The ball is down. Bond was in the lineup. Let me make that correction. A three-guard offense for Jimmy Harrick. John Alton spots the foul. The basket is good. And going to the line, number 44, Danny Evans.
And that's two personals on Boot Bond. He told the official, he said, I don't think I hit him.
Jimmy Harrick going with three guards. His ball club is down 4. Danny Evans shoots 74%. This one is out.
Evans is out of Flint, Michigan. He didn't play an awful lot last year, and the preseason there wasn't much expected out of him, but he's come on and earned himself a position as a starter and solidified it with outstanding play.
Oregon State playing man when they miss, zone when they make the shot.
Boy, is Sitton playing physical post defense in there or what?
Offensive foul, and Jimmy Harrick is going to get one. Jimmy Harrick is coming down to midcourt. Offensive foul.
He wants a timeout in there.
Suttle picks it up.
Boy, is he upset.
That's 3.
I tell you what, he's bordering on getting a technical, and I don't know at this point in the game if he could afford one.
His ball club is down by 4. This is Brew to Evans. Very patient team, one of the better passing teams in America.
Okay, Herb, now they switched their offense now. They're going with movement. Before they were running pretty much a 1-2-2 offense, and now they're sending cutters through.
Brew misses. This is Suttle to Wilson. Ahead to Bond. He's going to the hole. It's a block, and it's an excellent call. Ralph Miller doesn't like the call, but I'll guarantee you the call was there. Charlie Sitton did not have his feet set. Picks up the block. Take a look, George. Look at his feet. There's Charlie Sitton.
Penetration.
On the move. The
He
contact
definitely
with the
moved.
shoulder.
No question about it. That was definitely a blocking foul there. He moved it once the player was in the air.
Bond at the line. Ralph Miller. Chanute, Kansas. He's a great athlete in his own right. And George, he's recruiting a kid out of Chanute, Kansas this year. Bond has 6.
Oregon State's had an excellent recruiting year. They've signed 3 of the better players in America this year. A 6'10" player, a 6'9" player, and an outstanding guard out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, who they say could be another Lester Connors.
Well, if they can come up with another Lester Connors, I'd say they're in great shape. Not too many of those guys around. Connors projected as a #1 draft pick by the NBA. This is Holbrook. Oregon State continues to move the basketball. Dribbling is for cowards with Ralph Miller. They pass. Ball is a little hard, but there's Holbrook for 2.
They've only got one senior on the floor, Oregon State, so their future's bright.
25-21, 6:20 remaining in Pullman. The Beavers up by 4. Irv Brown and George Raveling with you.
All right, they're in a matchup now.
Inside. Hard to the hole. And the basket is good by Anger. Holbrook gets the foul. This telecast is presented by authority of the NCAA, and use of this program without written consent is prohibited. The announcers for this program have been approved and contracted by NCAA Productions. Irv Brown and George Raveling with you. Anger fails to make the three-point play. The ball is over the backboard, George, and anytime the ball is over a backboard, it's immediately out of play, out of bounds. The ball belongs to Oregon State.
That's Jim Harrick. That's the calmest he's been in a while.
25-23. The Beavers up by 2 with 5:53 remaining. This is Brew. They've changed it up now. Connors on the wing. Holbrook's got a wide open pop. It's pretty good from there.
Lester Connors on a rebound. Lester Connors again. Daryl Dawkins would have been proud of that one. That brought the fans to their feet.
In your face, Phillips.
I guess Daryl Dawkins would have called that one of his gorilla dunks.
32 is Connors. Great junior college athlete. Oregon State felt if they got a hand up, did their job on defense, they could hang on to this Pepperdine ball club pretty good. Right now, we got to push, George. 25 all with 5 minutes remaining in the half.
Oregon State just changed their offense now.
This is Sitton, 52, with Univille, Oregon. Great block by Phillips. All right, there's a timeout on the court with the score tied at 25. Bill Brown and George Raveling with you from Pullman, Washington. We're tied at 25. We've had 8 ties. Got ourselves a dandy. Ralph Miller taking on Jimmy Herrick. There's Ralph's bench. In the Stanford game, George, Ralph Miller split his britches, went in at halftime. A look at the turnovers. Went in at halftime while the trainer was sewing him up. He talked to his team in his sport coat, tie, and his BVDs, and he wondered why they couldn't keep a straight face.
4:50 to go. Oregon State is 12 for 28 for 43%. Pepperdine's 11 for 18 for 61%. So Pepperdine is shooting the ball very well. They've taken 10 less shots than Oregon State, but they've made 11 of them. 11 for 18 for 61% for Pepperdine.
Are you surprised that Pepperdine has stayed so tough early?
Not really. I think that the incentive for this game is with Pepperdine more than it is with Oregon State.
Oh, look at Orlando Phillips on the backboard that time. I'll guarantee that's where games are won and lost. If that's any example, Pepperdine's going to stay in it all the way. He went up and muscled, very strong.
They're hanging with Oregon State on the backboards. Oregon State has 14 rebounds. Pepperdine has 14 rebounds.
52 is Anger.
Fans didn't like that one.
We're in the Pacific Northwest. This is Phillips, who's been so impressive. Goes inside, he's strong, goes up. Hard off the glass. Green didn't jump, and it cost his ball club. Green finally jumped that time, didn't he? That's Phillips.
Nice move by Connors.
All right, here's the call. Goes against the defense.
You know, I thought the foul was on Boot Bond on the grab on the wrist, and which caused Connors to fall into Phillips. Okay, see, there's the foul, original foul, which causes Connors to fall into Phillips, and they put the foul on Phillips. I thought the foul should have been on Boot Bond.
0 for 1 at the line for Lester the Molester. This one goes down. Connors has 5. One of the nicest young men you'll ever meet in your life, George. He's just a delight to be around. We talked to him at the motel yesterday. Quite a guy. Assists, steals, rebounds, does it all.
Irv, the interesting thing about this youngster is that he never gave up on himself. He was not a starter at Fremont High School in the Oakland, California area as a senior. Went to junior college at Chabot Junior College. Got himself a scholarship to Oregon State, was very highly recruited out of junior college, and has turned out to be the Pacific 10 Conference Player of the Year.
Well, it shows you what'll happen to you if you just go out and work hard and keep your self-esteem. There's a turnover caused by Danny Evans. This is Brew and Connor, the guy they want to have the basketball.
That's the 9th turnover for Pepperdine as compared to 4 for Oregon State. Oregon State creates about 20 turnovers a game with their defense.
They're going to bring him out of it, George. They'll bring him out of it.
Herrick looked down at Ralph Miller and says, holy God, how could you do this? He actually looked down at Ralph Miller in disgust.
Well, Ralph Miller chooses to make the Wave play man-to-man. Wants him out of that zone, needs to change things up because Orlando Phillips has been very effective in the first half.
I'll tell you what, Jim Harrick is not happy about this strategy there. I've been watching him over there on the bench, and he does not like this strategy.
This is Evans to Connors. They keep the court spread, looking for something down the middle. There goes Connors. He got the pass and the foul by Suttle. Suttle reaches in, picks up the foul. Lester the Molester will go to the line. That's number 2 on Suttle.
All right, here it goes. We'll see the reach in as he comes down the lane to Connors there. All right, there he comes down the lane. There's There was the reach in from behind. Oregon State's an excellent team at the backdoor play. They'll probe and pass and try to spread the defense. And the next thing you know, they'll have a cutter going backdoor.
Connors has 7, 28-25 in favor of the Beavers. We have 2:38 remaining in the half. Herb Brown, George Raveling with you from Friel Court in Pullman, Washington. George, of course, the head coach of the Washington State Cougars. Georgia Ball Club came along this year. I saw you early. There were some problems. You had some young kids. I thought you made an excellent run early, and inexperience really hurt you in the late campaign.
Well, we had a good year. We were picked to finish last in the conference, and we finished 5th, and it was a very enjoyable coaching situation for me. I had a fine group of young men, and we have most of them back next year, and we're really looking forward to another good campaign.
There's McCollum as he muscles, can't get it down. Lester the molester, another rebound as Danny Evans climbs his back.
And it's becoming more and more evident to our fans why this youngster leads the Oregon State team in rebounding.
Changing the tempo once again, Lester Connor. If you come out on him, he'll go down the middle.
Irvin, this offense, there it is. I was just going to call it. What's characteristic about this spread offense is they'll bring the player from the corner to the side of the post, and they'll hit him, and then they'll run a backdoor play in there. Now, they'll roll around with this. The next thing you'll see a player come in from the side and post up, and they'll run a backdoor action. There it is.
George Raveling, who has played many times in Corvallis, Oregon, against Ralph Miller, knows him like the back of his hand. There's the whole court picture.
Boy, I tell you what, he's some kind of basketball player. Great composure, picks his shots well, nice high arching jump shot in there.
Biggest lead for the Beavers. Listen to the crowd.
Look at the Oregon State bench. Look at the Oregon State bench. They're up and cheering.
That'll quiet you, though. Anger. Victor Anger puts one in. He now has 4. And that really took the crowd out of it. For a minute there, they were involved. This has been a very quiet crowd, George. Maybe they spent themselves in the first game in the Idaho-Iowa.
I'm going to tell you, after that Idaho-Iowa game, I don't know how anybody could have much vocal cords left. There's a backdoor play. Oh, look at Jim Harrick. Jim Harrick's going to get a technical
right
here.
Now. He wanted traveling, no call. And Charlie Sitton gets his 4th point.
Hey, Irv, can you believe me talking about Herrick off the bench?
I was just going to say, George, because you are one of the calmest guys I know. Next, Dave Lemons, who once told me, Brown, you're going to drive me out of coaching. I want to be the guy who drops a poison pellet in the water and says, are you sorry? Offense on Suttle. Suttle picks up the offensive charge. Oregon State leads by 6 with 19 seconds left to go. You know Ralph Miller's going for the last shot. That's number 3 on Suttle.
I tell you, it's amazing the different perspective you get on a game when you're sitting behind the mic and when you're sitting over there on the bench.
Isn't it easy? You having fun?
I tell you one thing, I sweat a heck of a lot less over here. And it's a lot easier to make decisions over here.
That's like playing with somebody else's chips. 4 seconds. Sitton misses. That'll be the half.
Good half of basketball.
That's the end of the first.
33-27. Bob, there's much more to talk about.
We have just touched the tip of the iceberg. This game, of course, is live. In a few moments, we'll be going back to Pullman, Washington for the second half with Irv Brown and George Raveling pinch hitting in our analyst role and doing quite a good job this evening. And also, don't forget this evening, 9 Eastern time, we'll have Kansas State and Arkansas from the Midwest as well. But let's recap what has been happening in a frenetic afternoon of basketball with overtime and one-point decisions, more the rule than the exception this afternoon. For example, in Uniondale, New York, in the Eastern Regional, in 3 overtimes, Villanova beating Northeastern by the count of 76-72. Ed Pinckney had the decisive slam dunk in the 3rd overtime to put his team on top, and Stu Granger had 5 for the last 6 points that his team scored. This equals the longest playoff game, the longest championship game ever. Also, the second half of the doubleheader at Nassau Coliseum, Alabama holding off a late St. John's rally behind 16 points from All-SEC forward Eddie Phillips for a 69-68 victory over the Redmen. So what does the East Regional look like? We move on now to Raleigh, North Carolina, This Friday and Sunday are the games. Number 1, North Carolina has already defeated James Madison, and St. John's has defeated Alabama. So the matchups will be North Carolina taking on Alabama, and of course it'll be Villanova taking on Memphis State. The other half of the East Regional bracket, Villanova and Memphis State, as you see how those teams have progressed to this point. Those games Friday and Sunday, and the winner in Raleigh goes on to the Final Four.
Well, there was other activity today, the Midwest Regional in Dallas, and that particular action produced probably the biggest upset of this year's tournament thus far, with Boston College surprising DePaul 82-75. John Bagley pacing the Eagles with 26 points. Teammate Michael Adams scored 21. It's the third straight year that the Blue Demons have lost their first game in the postseason tournament. UCLA turned the trick a couple of years ago, and then it was St. Joseph's last season. Boston College now 21-9. DePaul finishes at 26-2. The Eagles will advance to meet the winner of the Kansas State-Arkansas game. And, of course, as Bob mentioned a moment ago, we'll have coverage of that one coming up a little bit later tonight, immediately following the Oregon State-Pepperdine contest. Let's move to the Mid-East in Indianapolis. Couple of great games this afternoon. First of all, it was Virginia taking on Tennessee, and the Cavaliers come away with a 54-51 victory. Ralph Sampson had 19 points, 13 of those in the second half. The Cavaliers made only 8 of 21 free throw attempts, but Ricky Stokes kind of put the icing on the cake with a couple of free throws with 15 seconds remaining. And for Virginia, they are now 30-3. Tennessee finishes at 20-10. Meanwhile, in the other Mideast affair in Indianapolis today, Minnesota edges Tennessee Chattanooga by a final of 62-61. Gophers now 23-5. The Moccasins in their campaign, and a dandy it was, at 27-4. So let's take a look at the brackets in the Mideast. Virginia, by way of the victory over Tennessee today, advancing to meet Alabama Birmingham next week in the quarterfinals. That will be in Birmingham, so the Blazers, with a bit of advantage, they will be playing on their home court. And it was Minnesota by way of the victory over Tennessee Chattanooga. The Gophers will take on Louisville in that other quarterfinal matchup in Birmingham in the Mideast Regional next weekend.
Let's check the West. Of course, you're at halftime of one of those two games being played today at Pullman, but in the first one, Iowa, the Big Ten co-runner-up this year, the co-try runner-up, if you will, taken to overtime in Idaho, out of the Big Sky. The Vandals disproving that they have run up their record, which is a lofty one, 27-2 against Western opposition that's not as good as you might find in the central and eastern portions of the country. 69-67, Idaho wins it on a buzzer shot by junior guard Brian Kellerman, a 15-foot jump shot that hit off the rim twice before finally going high into the air and coming down through the cords for the winning margin. So Idaho advances. And again, Pepperdine and Oregon State, we are at halftime of that game, and Oregon State leads that one 33-27. Checking now what we see now in the West as far as the matchups when we get to Provo, Utah. That'll be Thursday and Saturday. Georgetown, having defeated Wyoming, has earned the right to take on Fresno State, which handled West Virginia in a low-scoring affair yesterday. That'll be one of the semifinal matchups of the West Regional on Thursday. The other matchup, Idaho, awaiting to see who wins this one between Pepperdine and Oregon State. And again, 6-point lead for the Beavers. That is at halftime. Dave, you have to certainly think of all the games we've talked about. Again, history telling us that DePaul, I don't know whether it's the bye problem or whether it's just the jinx that has continually dogged this team for the last 3 years, but BC went out, played a solid game. DePaul looked tired.
Good effort by the Eagles, and you have to look at the margin of victory in all the games today. The Boston College victory over DePaul, 7 points, was the biggest. The others, 1 of 4 points, 1 of 3, 1 of 2, and 3 one-point games. So a tournament time has arrived.
We are at halftime of our game between Pepperdine and Oregon State. The Beavers leading at 33-27. Dave and I will be back in just a second. We'll check the NBA and the NHL here in the ESPN Sports.
The National Youth Sports Program is dedicated to expanding opportunities for the nation's economically disadvantaged youth. NYSP means health education and counseling in career and educational opportunities. NYSP is people concerned with helping young people. NYSP, building a positive attitude for today's youth, preparing better citizens for tomorrow. Co-sponsored by the federal government and the NCAA.
America on the move, on the tire Michelin pioneered, the Radial. We are moving thousands of trucks and trailers. We are delivering produce and flowers and school children. We are taking people to work, to shop, to play. We are pushing, hauling, carrying, scraping. When America demands performance, we deliver. We are Michelin, and we put America on radios.
I'm Julius Irving. People call me Dr. J because of how I operate. For 20 years, I've been making my rounds in these, Converse. Light on the fast break, strong when you go to set a pick, and in rebounding, no shoe protects you better than Converse. So when people ask me for my advice on how to improve their game, I always say,
take 2 of these and call me in the morning.
In every sport, on every field, on every court, reach for the stars! Converse!
A very busy Sunday in the National Basketball Association. Let's go to the board. Boston wins its 11th in a row, 105-92 over Phoenix. Robert Parrish, 33 points. Washington downs Atlanta 92-85. That snaps the Hawks' 5-game winning streak. It was Philadelphia over Kansas City, 128-114. 76ers have won 5 in a row. Julius Irving, 30 points. And Milwaukee gets back on the winning track, 129-100 over Utah. The Bucks had lost 5 in a row. Utah now has been saddled with 10 straight setbacks.
A buzzer job today at the Hemisphere in San Antonio between Chicago and San Antonio. Johnny Moore's only field goal of the afternoon from 22 feet out at the buzzer, winning it for the Spurs, 119-117. Seattle holding off the Nets at Byrne Arena, 98-97, as Jack Sikma had a free throw with 2 seconds to go to decide that affair. Denver in playoff contention with a victory over Golden State, 127-101. Vandeweghe had 26, Gondrezick had 24. 3 straight for the Nuggets, trailing now the Warriors by a game and Phoenix by a game and a half in the overall Western Division standings. Detroit and Cleveland are in action, as you see in the first quarter. The Cavaliers with a slight advantage, 19-18. A little bit later on, it'll be Dallas and Los Angeles. That a 7 Pacific start, and we'll keep you updated on that one throughout the entire evening.
3 games in the National Hockey League, all of them this evening, and all still in progress. Montreal just keeps on rolling. Canadiens, who have lost only once in the last 26 games, have jumped out to a 3-0 lead over Boston at the end of the first period. Meanwhile, Colorado playing in Hartford. The Whalers have a 3-2 advantage in the second period, and Washington is meeting the Rangers this evening. They're knotted up at 1 goal apiece in the opening period.
And we're at halftime in our game, live from Pullman, Washington State. Oregon State leads Pepperdine 33-27. More news in a moment.
This bud's for the men who took the Andrea Doria treasure back from the sea.
This bud's for you. This bud's for you. For all you do, the king of beers is coming through.
Yeah, just for you. That distinctively clean, crisp taste that says Budweiser.
For all you do.
This bud's for you.
Ace Hardware presents Help at the Oasis.
It was no day at the beach for Capitan Marceau. Les hot. Now, where to go for help? Of course, my nearby Ace store, where the helpful hardware man had the solution. Garden hose and grass seed, lots of garden hose. Later, things were a shade better. To put a little spring in your oasis.
Ace is the place with a helpful hardware man.
America's colleges, keeping pace with today's demands, providing educational opportunities for tomorrow's challenges. Man has journeyed to the outer reaches of space in his quest to harvest the mysterious potential of the universe. Aeronautic and astronautic curriculums explore the opportunities of human productivity in space. Students at Massachusetts Institute of Technology are learning how to develop space as a useful and inhabitable environment.
Speaking as a professor, the abilities and capabilities of these young people sort of push the older faculty like myself along. They keep me alive and young. It's an advantage I have over people in industry. And we constantly have this stream of young people with their new ideas, no inhibitions, no 30 years of the same experience to fall back upon.
America's energy is mind power.
From the Pro Golf Tour hailer,
the veteran Ralph Miller. We talked about the scoring in the first half. Pepperdine's got some foul problems, George. Sadler has 3, as does Suttle. Only Danny Evans has 2. for the Beavers, so that could be a very big statistic. Sadler and Suttle both in foul trouble. Sadler is very aggressive underneath. This is McCollum. They're really fronting Sadler inside with Sitton doing a great job. Pullman looks from the outside, passes. Does not shoot the basketball. And look at this, we have a 5-second held ball count. George, if this is the Pac-10, the ball would go to Oregon State. It goes to Oregon State now because of the alternating rule.
I think that you'll see that will become the national rule next year in collegiate basketball. Irv, what happened there was Coach Jim Harrick stood up to tell his players what offense he wanted them in, and as he orchestrated the position of the players, the ball handler was focused on him, and as a result, he didn't penetrate with the ball, and we got a 5-second call.
Look at this. Ralph Miller goes to the delay game early. You can see some of the action away from the basketball, but Ralph Miller didn't like what he saw in the first half, particularly with Orlando Phillips. Went to the delay game with about 4 minutes to go. He's into it now, 1 minute into the second half. This is Sitton. They got a layup.
There it is. We had excellent camera work then. We got a nice half-court view of how Oregon State set that up.
Joe Martino doing it all. That's 11 points for Connors. They're back in their matchup zone.
And look at the Oregon State players talk.
Oh, Connors picks one up. Lester didn't think that he got the hand.
That's his second personal. All right, here he is. Good weak side help there. You can't fault that. The lob over top. Connors was the weak side defender. He dropped off. Almost came up with a steal.
There's a foul inside. Brew picks up the foul. Zanger was going hard to the hole, looking for the layup.
That's also Brew's second personal.
Team foul number 2.
Sorry, that's his first personal.
On the Beavers, so Sadler's got great vision. Will inbound the ball. There's Zanger. This is Bond to Suttle. Has 3 fouls, carries one. Suttle with 6.
Tell you one thing about this Pepperdine team. They shoot the ball with great confidence.
That they do, George. They came out against Pittsburgh, scored over 90 points as they handled that 1-3-1 trap very effectively. Danny Evans looking to go down the middle. This is Brew. Connors over on the right side. He's the key. He's the man that makes it happen. Here's Connor. All over him is Boot Bond. 5-second count in effect. Now it's off. Nice pass underneath, and there's a layup. Excellent passing ball club. That's what Ralph Miller's teams do best. His Beavers lead by 8 with 17:49 remaining in this ball game.
The key to that move was the jump stop by Sitton, and then the power move up into the basket. If the defender had closed in on him, he had an excellent opportunity for a 3-point play.
He's a very strong kid, Suttle. He went in, he muscled, he got the shot up. I'm really impressed with the 2 guards, Suttle and Bond. They're players. They're both 6'3". They're active. They're aggressive. They're not afraid to shoot off balance.
Oregon State's continuing to stay with this spread offense in here.
Our score is 37-31 from Pullman, Washington. The Beavers leading the wave of Pepperdine. A lot of people don't know what Pepperdine really stands for. They're in Malibu. It's a great place to recruit. Gary Colson had good ball clubs. Jimmy Harrick has done an excellent job in just a few short years. I look for them to be one of the real powerhouses. You can get a lot of kids out of Los Angeles that want to go to Malibu, George.
That's true. It's a beautiful campus. They have excellent educational facilities and opportunities there. And like you say, the big thing about the Pepperdine location is the fact that they're right outside of Los Angeles, where they have the opportunity to recruit from those Los Angeles schools, and some of the finest players in America come out of the Los Angeles school system.
Jimmy Harrick paid his dues at Utah State and UCLA. Worked for Gary Cunningham over there. Gary now the athletic director of Wyoming. His ball club lost in the regional to Georgetown. Georgetown has advanced in the far west. Idaho has advanced. Tiny Grants Fresno ball club has advanced. There's Sitton, passes. Very patient ball club. Jimmy Harrick will go to his bench. He'll put in Marc Wilson, who can make some things happen. Right now, this ball game is being totally controlled by Oregon State and their patience.
I'll tell you one thing. This is Oregon State's game right here. They'll just keep running, and they'll move it, and they'll pick you apart with a backdoor.
A look at the people coming in. George, I really feel, as we take a look at a foul by Bond, I really feel this year if anybody can run their man-to-man defense, they're ahead of the game because no one gets to practice their man-to-man offense. Everybody is playing zone. McCollum gets a rest, as does Suttle.
And that's Victor Anger and Wilson are in the game now.
It's not a good feeling on that Pepperdine bench. There's not a lot they can do about this tempo. 2 team fouls now on Oregon State.
Irv, at this point, as Pepperdine, if you get up and apply too much pressure, then you make yourself susceptible to the backdoor play. So what you've got to do is play good position defense, try to stay in the passing lanes, don't gamble for the ball.
One of the things that Ralph Miller does that has always showed me something, he'll yell out to his kids when they're in this offense. Brew, that is Barry's one. Watch your body balance. Don't let people jump in front of you looking for the charge. And it's the little things that make Ralph Miller a great coach.
Boy, there's a lot of interplay between the 2 benches here. When William Brew hit that shot, one of the Oregon State assistant coaches looked down at the Pepperdine bench and smiled.
On that Oregon State bench, Jimmy Anderson, been there a long time. He's been with Ralph Miller for many, many years. Tom Asbury, Gary Dean with Jimmy Harrick.
I tell you, Ralph's other assistant, former head coach at Arkansas, Lanny Van Eden. I don't know too many assistant coaches in the country that know more people or are more popular than Lanny Van Eden.
There's a timeout on the court with the score, Oregon State 39, Pepperdine 31. Bud Brown and George Raveling with you from Creel Court in Pullman, Washington. 14:53 remaining. The Beavers of Oregon State 39, Pepperdine 31. George, Oregon State shooting 47%, Pepperdine 58%. But look at the turnovers, 11 for the Wave, 4 for the Beavers. They have controlled the tempo. Right now, Pepperdine in serious trouble. They're down 8 and they can't get the basketball. There's the story. Turnovers have killed the Wave. Here's a turnover right here. Sadler will try and stuff. Goes up, gets the shot, and it's a block call. No, it's a charge, I beg your pardon. Sadler went under, got the bucket with tremendous effort. Jimmy Harrick feels that he's up in the air, George. You take a look. Let's see if he gets position.
Here's the penetration. I don't know, Irv. What do you say? I think it's a no call.
It's a no call or a charge. It's a good call if it is the charge. Anger picks up the bucket. That's the 4th team foul.
He's out of the game, and they bring in Scott McCollum.
Boy, they're sure easy to call from here. I wouldn't have retired, George, if I could officiate it from here.
I'll tell you one thing. It's even difficult to call them on the replay, so you know how tough it is for the official.
Watch you remember that next year when you're chewing them out, George.
I was just ready to say I'll be a lot more compassionate when I'm sitting on the bench.
Until the first ball is thrown up. All right, this is Green, who hadn't touched the ball very much because this guy who leads all scorers with 11, Connors, has the basketball. He's tough. Wilson is trying to stay with him, but he's got a man-sized assignment. They're looking for the back door. This is Brew. Great discipline by Oregon State. Ralph Miller's been coaching many, many years. Wichita, Iowa, Oregon State. Here's a shot. Evans has it. You pointed out, George, just one of the better streak shooters in the country. Look at Wilson go all the way. Misses a puppy.
Jimmy Harrick's asking for a foul on that play there.
The Green Wave, not the Green Wave, that's Tulane, just the Wave of Pepperdine. There's Jimmy Harrick. His ball club has the basketball. Jimmy doesn't like the way the tempo's going, and you can read the frustration on his face. They're in good shape as long as Oregon State was running up and down the court with him, George.
This is not the type of tempo. It's not the type of game that Pepperdine enjoys. Now, the whole momentum of the game, the whole movement of the ball is in Oregon State's favor right now. But I'll tell you one thing, Pepperdine's refusing to die here.
All right, Pepperdine cuts the lead down to 6. is number 34, Orlando Phillips. Gets his 10th point. 34 on the other side of the coin is William Brew. This is Connor, so quick, great passer, rebounds, does it all. 12:44 left, 41-35.
One of the things that's so characteristic of Ralph Miller's teams, it's just a little thing, but it's so important. They always hit a jump stop. You watch a player come catch the ball, he always hits a jump stop, and they're always under control.
There's Lester, he gets fouled. Basket does not go. John Alderton coordinates with the official.
Here's the replay here. Connors comes across. He's going to the basket. Leans in. Anger turns his back on him and pushes him.
You know, you're talking about Ralph Miller. One of the things I've always admired about him, George, is how they balance the floor. And the reason for that, they are always practicing full court. He believes everything is from the transition game. And teams that practice the transition game balance the floor. And that's why Ralph is so successful.
In this particular offensive set, they keep the middle open, which allows for cutters or for postman to flash. If they don't get it with the postman, they'll restructure it again, but they always keep the middle of the floor open where they have potential for penetration, either with the pass or with the dribble.
Lester, the molester, gets his 7th out of 8 attempts. He now has 13 to lead all scorers.
It's 43-35 Oregon State. There's 12:21 to go.
Good pass by Phillips. He's stripped by Sitton. Nice effort by Victor Anger. How about this kid, George? Did you try and recruit him?
We tried to recruit him out of high school, but he wasn't too interested in going far away from home.
Our score is 43-37 from the far west. We're in the Palouse, Pullman, Washington. Some of the finest farmland in America. The home of the Washington State Cougars. And my partner today is the head coach of the Washington State Cougars, George Raveling. This is Green to Brew. Oregon State has been in the delay game 9 minutes.
Once again, as you can see, they keep that middle open. And what will happen, Herb, when there's penetration, the weak side of the defense comes to the middle of the floor, which always leaves somebody open on the weak side to pass the ball to.
That's William Brew. He now has 6, 45-37 in favor of the Beavers. Brew is a junior from Berkeley, California. There's a timeout on the court with the score Oregon State 45-37 for Pepperdine. We'll keep it right here, George. An 8-point lead for Oregon State. You just don't have a good feeling if you're a Pepperdine fan the way the tempo is going. Jimmy Harrick is very frustrated, taking a look on the bench. This isn't the kind of game he likes to play.
No, the way the Oregon State plays right now, an 8-point lead for them is like a 16-point lead for most other teams because they utilize the clock very effectively. The other thing is they're keeping Pepperdine on defense so long that what happens as soon as they get the ball offensively, they come right back and they have a tendency to put it up at the basket quickly. If they hit a cold spell, it could be sayonara for them.
Sayonara. George, I love your vocabulary. I mean, you're my man. Lester Connors is the individual leader among all scorers with 13. There's the team fouls. Pepperdine getting the worst of it because Oregon State is in the delay game. People wonder why there is such a differential in the foul count in different ball games. Depends on the offense. It depends if you're freezing up late in the game. The team that trails is always going to be fouling more. I tell you one rule change we need, George. The last 2 minutes, all shots have to be 2. Worst thing we officials do is in the last 2 minutes. Is it intentional? Is it not? And it's inconsistent. Kids don't know what to expect. We do a terrible job.
I think you have a lot of credence in what you're saying. One of the things that I think that Pepperdine has done defensively that's admirable is that they have maintained patience defensively. You look at the team foul situation and it's 3-3 when most teams would be in a tough would be deep in foul trouble now trying to get the ball away from Oregon State.
That was Phillips who picked up his 14th point. Phillips gives his ball club a 45-39 lead. We have 10:56 remaining. Ralph Miller, you know, I thought Ralph was going to retire several years ago. There was some rumors. Then he picks up Johnson, Radford, Bloom. Charlie Sitton. And
I talked to Ralph today at their shooting practice, and I said to him, I said, Ralph, you're thinking about retiring? He says, boy, it's too much fun to retire now. He told me he's going to stay with it a few more years. He's building a retirement home about 100 miles from Corvallis. Him and his son said he thought they had about another month's work on it. And when he's going to retire, he's going to move up to this area. It's called Black Butte, and that's where he's going to retire from. And I'll tell you, when he retires from the game, he's going to leave his mark on it, because when you talk about the Dean Smiths and the Jack Hartmans and the Bobby Knights and the Eddie Suttons, you got to bring Ralph Miller in that same category, because he is a truly outstanding basketball coach.
Third winningest active coach. I don't know anyone who doesn't respect Ralph Miller as a coach. He's liable to sit in the stands during practice and smoke a cigarette. But during the game, there is no better bench coach. And the system is what makes it so good. The system is simple. We've talked about it. They run the back door. He's got maybe 2 plays in his repertoire. They just execute, and they pass the basketball above all. All right, we're back. This is Evans. 45-39 is our score. There's a turnover. Boot on. The Wave needs a bucket right here. This is Suttle going hard to the hole. Gets stuffed by Lester Connors. Connors with the rebound after he's stuffed.
God, he does he do it all? He blocks the shot. He comes up with the rebound, and now he's handling pressure.
This is Brew to Charlie Sitton. Sitton's got a man on the baseline. Evans, there is it.
Herb, it only takes 5 minutes of watching Lester Connors play to tell why he was a Pacific 10 Conference Player of the Year.
The Wave is down, George, by 8. Now go ahead on your point on Connors.
I was going to say, Connors, he contributes in so many different areas. He's not a one-dimensional player.
That's the 9th point for Boot Bond, the leading scorer for Pepperdine. Averages 18 a game. This is Connors. Great body balance, going to make somebody a tremendous point guard. Here's the same shot. And once again, it's cake for Evans. George, you pointed out before, and you hate to be a broken record, when this kid's hot, you're in serious trouble. He
and I think he's in his rhythm now, and I tell you what, it could be, it's certainly, okay, they're going to zone now. They're going to matchup zone.
Looks like AC Green picks up the foul on the lob pass. Ralph Miller felt there was a travel call. There's our score. We're at Pullman, Washington. There's a timeout on the score, on the court with the score. Oregon State 49, Pepperdine 41. Ralph Miller, the head coach of the Oregon State Beavers. Ball club leads 49-41 with 9:25 remaining. George, there are some empty seats here, but this was a sellout, and a lot of people have left. There's the field goal percentage. A lot of people have left after that barn burner with Iowa and Idaho.
I tell you, it's a complete sellout, as you say. I think a lot of them went out to wet their throats after that first game between Iowa and Idaho, because I'll tell you what, that was as exciting a game as I've seen in years.
They got the ball to the hot shooter. This time Evans can't get one. Here's 3-on-1. They got a puppy, and they can't get it to go down. They had a fine pass, and Orlando Phillips couldn't get it to go down.
Orlando Phillips, I think, went in with the intention of dunking the ball. Charlie Sitton puts his hand up in the lane, and Phillips changed the type of shot he was going to take, and it spun off.
Pepperdine on the press, and Oregon State beats it easy. Charlie Sitton goes up. There's AC Green. There's Connors. Gets another offensive board, and he gets fouled by Wilson. Wilson picks up the foul. Connors all over the floor. Boards are even. It's been the control game that has really made the difference. 52% for Oregon State, 59% for Pepperdine, yet they trail, George, because of one very important statistic, the turnovers. They've turned it over 11 times, 6 for the Beavers. Here's Brew just holding on, making them come out. Brew now the point guard. Connors on the side. They'll look for the back door. They'll lull you to sleep and then penetrate. There it is. Nobody does it better in the country. You better be alert back door. There it was to Green, didn't happen. This is Green.
Okay, we got a nice wide-angle shot here. Here's a big statistic. Oregon State's forcing 20.1 turnovers per game. That's absolutely amazing.
What's the average, George? What's the average? Taking a look at the layout and what we're doing here.
Right, it's going to give our viewers an opportunity to see it develop. And that was
Phillips had an excellent block. The second foul is called.
Okay, now, here's AC Green, jump stop, gathers himself together, nice power move, Phillips over his shoulder in there.
AC Green to the line. No, they'll take it out of bounds. It is not a shooting foul. 49-41 is our score. Oregon State leading the Pepperdine Waves. 8:05 remaining. Oregon State has been in the delay game the entire half, looking for the back door.
I don't know. Ralph Miller would dispute that. He says he does not run a delay game, that everything that they run is designed to score. So you'd get an argument for Ralph on that one.
Well, I think you're right. That's terminology. It isn't a delay game, but it is a slowdown game. And they're always looking for the back door. There's a great shot by our camera crew. Looks like a foul right there. Wilson doesn't like it, but there wasn't any question about it. He hammered him.
Okay, now what we're seeing now, we're going to get a nice wide shot of this last foul here. Okay, there's the ball movement. It comes in from behind, swatting at the ball. Now what we're seeing now, Irv, is that earlier in the game, Pepperdine was not gambling as much for the ball in this delay game, but now they're going for the ball and creating fouls for themselves.
What a pass by Brew. Sitton puts in his 8th point, but Brew had an excellent pass. Brew picks up the foul. Team foul number 5 on the Beavers, 6 for the Wave. What a pass by Brew.
That's 3 personals on Brew.
William Brew, he was 9 of 10 against Louisville. Very durable. Sometimes he'll shoot out of his range, but that's about the only complaint you could have against the guy.
A 1-and-1 foul here.
Well, the board says 5.
Behind us, Irv, it's 16 fouls on Pepperdine and 5 on Oregon State.
This Ralph Miller over.
Ralph thinks it should be a 1-on-1 foul shooting situation. The scoreboards are incorrect, so you cannot go by what's on the scoreboard. What the official score has is what counts.
Well, they've solved the argument. Jimmy Harrick, head coach,
I think, that
of the Pepperdine Waves. I believe the ball will be inbounded as it is. Right, so Pepperdine will have the basketball.
The next one will be 1-and-1.
Oregon State continues to press, as Ralph Miller told Jimmy Harrick in the press conference. I'm going to pressure the entire 40. He's kept his word. There's Suttle. Danny Evans picks up the rebound. Here's Lester's got great open court quickness to Brew.
Irv, there was an example of what I said to you before. Oregon State keeps Pepperdine on defense for long periods of time. They come down on offense. They're frustrated for not having the ball for a long time because they're an up-tempo offensive team. They come down, they make one pass, and they put the ball up at the basket. That basket's got to go, or they're right back on defense again.
Well, you make excellent sense, George, because that's what it is all about. Oregon State has had it their own way, simply because they are passing the basketball, making Pepperdine work. And you're right. When you go to the other end, it's tough. There's the back door. Oh! I thought Anger got all ball. So does Jimmy Harrick. Anger went up.
Look at the Oregon State bench. Okay, here's the backdoor play. They'll just eat you alive on this one.
A lot of daylight there. Anger picks up the personal foul. Brew goes to the free throw line.
Once they get into a delay situation, their bread and butter is the backdoor play, bringing the man from the corner to the high post, hitting him with the entry pass, and then sending the guard backdoor. Have you ever seen a team bench with more enthusiasm than Oregon State's?
At the right time, too, if there is a better one. There's a technical on Jimmy Harrick. Jack Cannon got him. Jimmy's been asking for one.
You're right.
So now we've got 1 shot left. This is where officials have to be careful. We've got 1 shot left on the 1-and-1, and then a 2-shot foul for the technical, and the ball will be inbounded.
I think Jimmy should watch himself here now, Irv, or he's going to put this thing out of reach.
Very true, because now you're looking at a 6-point swing. The lead is now 12. 2 shots coming up, plus the ball out of bounds.
Jim Harrick's down telling Andy Geiger his displeasures with the officiating. Andy Geiger did not even look up. He's sitting at the scores table. He did not even look up when Harrick voiced his displeasure. This is going to be a 6-point swing here.
Charlie Sitton now has 9 points, 54-41, Oregon State. Oregon State. Oregon State with the basketball.
Charlie Sitton has a sizable cut on his shoulder. The next time he's up, maybe we might catch it, but he's got a sizable cut on his shoulder there.
Holbrook is up leading this crowd now, and they are very much involved. This is Brew. Ball club leads by 14. They continue to look for the back door. Connors draws Wilson, 6:23 left. This is Evans to Sitton. Excellent passing basketball team. They just don't make very many mistakes. There's the back door, don't get it. They go to Evans for the jumper, and he's short. Orlando Phillips to Wilson. They're looking for the charge. The foul should be on Phillips. Phillips picks up the foul.
They call that one on Brew.
I beg your pardon, it is Brew, and that's a correct call because it was a blocking call, no question about it, and I make the mistake. 55-41 with 6:04 remaining. The Oregon State Beavers lead the Pepperdine Wave by 14 points.
And they're very much in control. They have the whole focus of the game is going in their direction right now, both offensively and defensively. See, the big thing is Oregon State has had to play very little defense this half.
Absolutely. So when Pepperdine does come down, they'll put it up rather quickly because that has been their game. Pepperdine, the longest winning streak in the nation, seriously in danger today, George. They're down 14. We only have 6:04 remaining, and there's not many times that a Ralph Miller coached ball club kicks away a 14-point lead. You need some help. You need him to miss some. You need a few calls. Most of all, you got to come down and score on every possession.
If you're Jim Harrick now, I think Jimmy's talking now to his team about full court pressure. In the first game, we saw Iowa get back in the game with full court pressure and double teaming the ball. I think they've got to remain patient on their half-court defense. Don't gamble so much for the ball. Look for trapping situations. Look for opportunities to take the charge on the cutters. At the offensive end of the court, I think that they've got to try to get the ball inside, create some three-point opportunities for themselves. I don't believe they can live out this last 6 minutes shooting jump shots.
All right, 55-41. The comments from George Raveling, the head basketball coach of Washington State. Suttle goes under, very strong to the board, and Suttle now has 10 in double figures. Excellent pressure.
Those are the type of offensive maneuvers that Pepperdine's going to have to utilize if they hope to get back in the game. Get the ball inside, take it to the basket, think 3 points on every possession.
George, you made a point, don't gamble too much on defense. Pepperdine is really extending. That means the back door is going to be wide open.
That's right, they're going to make themselves susceptible to back door.
There it is. Charlie Sutton, that is, gets hammered by Victor Anger.
Okay, what we're going to see is the Pepperdine team looking for the block shot instead of looking for the offensive charge. I think block shots are one of the most overrated aspects of basketball, are block shots.
And you know, George, so many teams are turned on by block shots and stuffs, and they forget about the little things that make you a good basketball team. For instance, playing good defense. Block shots and stuff seem to turn kids on more nowadays than any other single factor.
What you like to see a player do in a situation like that is slide from the weak side over to the ball side, get yourself down on the baseline and stop the penetration.
Sitton now is 4 for 4, has 12 points. He's in double figures along with Evans and Connors. For Pepperdine, Phillips and Suttle. Rebound to Evans. Sadler will come back in for Jimmy Harrick. 5:16, 57-43. Here's the back door again. The penetration, not the back door. Look at the movement by Oregon State. They keep it spread. They balance the floor, looking for you to make a mistake, either penetrating or back door.
You know, Herb, there's an old axiom in basketball. If you live by the jump shot, you die by the jump shot.
There it is, Lester Connors penetrating down the middle. They jump switch, and AC Green has a puppy. He cans it. 59-43, Oregon State is about to send the Pepperdine Wave home. AC Green has 7 points.
One of the things that's so characteristic of this Oregon State team offensively is its unselfishness.
They have outscored Pepperdine 12-2 in the last minute, make it 13-2. There's a timeout on the court with the score, Oregon State 60, Pepperdine 43.
America on the move. On the tire Michelin pioneered, the Radial. We are moving thousands of trucks and trailers. We are delivering produce and flowers and school children. We are taking people to work, to shop, to play. We are pushing, hauling, carrying, scraping. When America demands performance, we deliver. We are Michelin, and we put America on radials.
This is the Xerox 2350, the desktop copier that reduces. It can make handy 8.5 by 11-inch copies from all my clumsy oversized originals, including computer printouts, technical drawings, and blue ledger sheets. The 2350 can even do something I've always wanted to do. It can take my size 14 sneakers and reduce them to an 8.5.
To find out more, call Xerox at 800-648-5888.
In Pullman, Washington, Oregon State has outscored Pepperdine 27-16 in the second half, lead 60-43. Jimmy Harrick, who picked up a technical just moments ago, his ball club down 17 big ones against one of the better ball handling teams in the country. That ball's in play, and a lot of people don't realize it, George. The top is in as well as the sides, and underneath McCollum with the tap in.
You know, for the young players watching the game, Irv, there was an excellent exhibition of how to penetrate with the basketball by Lester Connors. He penetrated the middle, stayed under control, hit a jump stop, went straight up and took the shot, avoiding any potential offensive foul.
And he did go straight up too, George, and
yes,
that's the key point.
He didn't lean in, which would have created the potential for an offensive foul.
Bond has the foul. The official score is checking. There was a little bit of confusion there. 60-45 is our score with 4:24 remaining. Evans is 0 for 1 from the line. He's really shot the basketball extremely well. 7 field goals, and at times he's been awesome from the baseline. Ralph Miller gets him the open shot, and he buries it. First one is good.
You know, he's from a very good basketball area. He's from Flint, Michigan. I had a youngster played for me a couple of years ago, and my point guard, Brian Risen, who was leading junior college scorer in the nation. He was out of Beecher High in Flint, Michigan. And I'm going to tell you what, they can play some basketball in that town.
Yes, they can. Evans gets the second one. That's 16 for the youngster. Been very effective. Oregon State continues to press. They lead by 17 in the Far West Regional. This is Sadler, wants a shot, goes up strong, doesn't get the finger roll. Sitton with another rebound. Here's the foul by Sadler. So Sitton will go to the line. 4:09 remaining. We look for Ralph to make some moves pretty quick, get some young kids.
No way.
You're shaking your head.
No way.
No moves.
Ralph takes no prisoners.
Send me a pint of blood.
They will continue to press until the clock expires, and don't look for a lot of substitutions. That's just Ralph's style. He does it every game and very consistent.
Charlie Sitton at the line. Sitton has 12.
This is going to take quite a while to finish out this 4 minutes because I got a feeling it's going to finish up in a foul shooting contest.
5 for 5 for Charlie, 13 points overall, 63-45. We had a good ball game for a half. Pepperdine has been unable to score much in the second half. They only had 18 points.
They're still in the press. I told you, they're 19 up and they're still pressing. Hey, I've seen them 40 up and pressing, and I don't mean that as any disservice to Ralph Miller or Oregon State. That's just their style. There's the molester.
Excellent pass. There's a blocking call on Booth Bond. The guy who caused it with the steal. Was Connors, then with the pass.
Once again, Les Connors on the shuffle. A.C. Green came from all the way, the farthest position away to get himself involved in the fast break in there. Almost came up with a big three-point play. The key thing then, did you notice A.C. Green continue to have eye contact with the rim all the way through the release of the ball? Very important factor for a shooter. Never lose eye contact with the target.
Even though Ralph Miller is up by 19 points, he doesn't like Green missing the free throw. The guy coaches every minute, George. He just doesn't let up.
Well, today at shooting practice, the players were teasing A.C. Green about his foul shooting and that. You have to make 10 before you can leave the practice floor, and he was the last one to leave, and they were teasing him, telling him that he might not get out until halftime of the Idaho-Iowa game.
Charlie Sitton picks up the foul. Sadler goes to the line. The 1-1. Sadler, kid I like his vision. I think he's a fine player. Haven't been able to do much today. He has 4.
I'll tell you one thing, Omar the tent maker must make his trunks.
The Marc Aguirre of Los Angeles. Sitting with another board. He's got a bunch. This is Evans. William Brew. They continue to play their game.
Hey, Irv. Keep looking for the substitutes from Oregon State.
Well, has it ever hurt Ralph? Has he had an injury?
No.
That's the one thing I'd be concerned with.
You know, if you play him for the first time, I think you get a little upset that he doesn't sub.
Oh, I think each guy's got to play his own style.
That's right, and Ralph will be the first one to tell you, hey, if you get the chance to do it against me, do it. I'm going to play the way I think is best for my team.
Well, this is the way he makes his kids play hard, too. Sadler picks up the foul. Anger will come in. That's 5 on Sadler.
He played a very good game for them, Irv. Unfortunately for Pepperdine, the tempo never got to the level that they like to pursue offensively.
All right, this is Brew. Can make it a 20-point margin. He does. Brew has 9 points, 3 Beavers in double figures. Sitton with 13, Evans with 16, Connors with 14. Brew can join that group. Green has 8, so all the starters have contributed.
Crowd's starting to thin out now, Irv. They're heading for the parking lot, try to get an early exit and get to the restaurant for dinner. Avoid the lines.
There's a block call on Evans.
No question about it. Evans moved his knee into the path of the dribbler. Only the loyalists are left here in the stands now.
Wilson's first point of the game. Jimmy Harrick goes to his bench. Number 15 coming in, Carmel Stevens. And number 44, Grant Gonderzik. There's McCollum. Gonderzik's brother played at UNLV. This kid's going to be a fine player, just a freshman out of Boulder, Colorado. He can shoot it. Has to wait his turn. There's a couple of fine guards at Pepperdine. Wilson hits the second one.
Across the way from us, Irv, I see Don Monson and his staff. They're collecting notes for the game coming up in Provo. Idaho beat this Oregon State team very handily over in the Far West Classic, and I know from talking with the Oregon State players and staff that they're looking forward to this game as much as Don Monson and the Vandals are. Should be a hotly contested game over there in Provo.
Wish to take this opportunity to thank tournament manager Bill Cord, tournament media coordinator Rod Commons, athletic director Wayne Wright of Pepperdine, head basketball coach Jimmy Harrick and his staff, and sports information director Greg Fritz. And from the OSU athletic director, Dee Andrus, and hopefully he'll be feeling better, he's got some hip problems, head basketball coach Ralph Miller and his staff, and sports information director Hal Cowan and Mike Corwin. Many thanks to everybody.
You know, Irv, we ought to say a special hello to Dee Andrus, the athletic director at Oregon State. He's a legend up here in the Pacific Northwest. And I tell you, one of the real fine after-dinner speakers. He's done an excellent job with that Oregon State basketball program, and the football program's on its way back also.
Talk about football. This youngster, William Brew, could end up playing for Joe Albazano in the 5th year. He was an excellent high school player in the LA area. Holbrook comes in. AC Green goes out. Charlie Sitton gives him a hand, as do the fans.
They still haven't gone past 6 players yet.
Green has 8 points. Did a good job. Young freshman can play the game. 2:11 left. 20-point lead for Oregon State. The way it started out when it was tied at 17, we had a dandy. Orlando Phillips was going wild inside. Ralph Miller went to the spread game, and it's been all over. Plus, there's the story, George. The monitor will just tell you what happened here. Pepperdine turned it over 13 times.
Irv, I would estimate that Pepperdine has played at least 60% of the playing time in the second half on defense. At least 60%.
I think that's about right. They just haven't been able to do what they want to do. Here goes Connors, gets fouled. Number 15 picks up the foul. This is the newcomer, Mel Stevens.
If Lester could have had a little stronger grip on the ball, he had Danny Evans cutting to the basket then for a backdoor layup.
Dave Netherton is in for Grant Connors. Our executive producer would like to thank Dennis Tyner, the producer, Phil Martino, stage manager Michael Costone. So we wish to thank all those people. They did a heck of a job putting up with Irv Brown and George Raveling.
I tell you what, the stage director Mike Kachonis is some kind of guy. He's an old Illinois guy. I gotta get a plug in for the Illini.
And now, see, we got to mention Southern Illinois. See, now they got them all yelling at us from the truck, George. Dave Netherton is in the ball game. He started out at the University of Colorado, but Bill Blair transferred to Pepperdine. Lots of substitutes coming in. Lester Connors should come out right after this. Lester...
You know, talking about our producer, he's a USF guy, so I know he wasn't in that Boston College game down there in Dallas.
Well, that's right. 14 in for Oregon State is Alan Tate, a sophomore.
I think he's a Canadian, if I'm not mistaken.
That is correct. We're down to 120 and counting. There's Brew, gets hammered. Foul is by number 14, the young man we were talking about, Tate.
Irv, it's Hully Gully time now out there. You know, give everybody a chance to play. 30 years from now, a lot of these youngsters on the floor be able to sit their grandson on their knee and tell them how they played the NCAA tournament. And I can guarantee you most of them will have more points scored 20 years from now than they scored today. They'll tell their grandchild how they went by Lester the molester and dunked on him and that. You know, it's amazing. The older you get, the better you played when you were in college. I can remember a couple 40-point games I had.
Ah, look at that.
Dream on, dream on.
It's the Beavers on Bourbon Street. They'll have to win twice next week in Provo. The other teams that have qualified, Fresno State, Idaho, and a very, very good Georgetown team. Pat Ewing can flat play the game, George.
I'll tell you what, I was a little surprised he didn't gather more national honors because, you know, you can talk about the youngster at Memphis State and you can talk about the kids down there at North Carolina and so forth. But I'll tell you, Pat Ewing doesn't have to take a backseat to anybody. We were in the same tournament with them up in Alaska at the Great Alaska Shootout, and Pat Ewing has made tremendous strides since the early portion of the season.
Do you have a pick for the national winner?
I tell you what, I'm like, you know, a lot of those guys who predict. I'm never right. I'm going to pick Carolina, but I don't have any real reason other than I think that they have an all-pro back line in Worthy and Perkins and Daugherty. I tell you what, Worthy's ready for the NBA right now. Uh-oh.
All right, we're down to 116. Oregon State playing it out. Got some shock troops in. Holbrook still in the same type of spread game, looking for the back door or the penetration. Number 40 for the Beavers, Jamie Stangl, a sophomore from Milwaukee.
Ralph Miller's the picture of contentment over there, knees crossed and just sitting there enjoying himself.
49 seconds, the double up. This is Holbrook. Underneath, they got a pop. Evans doesn't get it. Ball out of bounds at Pepperdine.
Ralph has to derive a great sense of pleasure with this basketball team here. Yeah, I think Ralph would be the first to admit that he didn't expect this team to win the Pacific 10 championship. And these are the type of teams that make a coach feel very satisfied.
Finally graduates Steve Johnson, Radford, Bloom. That's three pretty good basketball players.
Okay, now here's an inside post pass in there. Strong move by Orlando Phillips. Foul by Jamie Stengel on the arms as he goes up. Perhaps if Pepperdine could have gotten the ball in more consistently inside like they did on this play throughout the duration of the second half, the score might not be as wide a margin as it is, and perhaps maybe even Pepperdine might have had a better chance of winning this basketball game.
Well, you made the point, though, George, that they didn't have the basketball much on offense because they were playing defense the entire half. Oregon State continues to make them play defense. The Beaver fans are getting excited. Here's the foul by Alderton.
That was a delayed call there. Harrick can take a technical now because it's all academic now. You look at the arithmetic up there now, it's 69-49, favor Oregon State, 13 seconds to go.
At the line, number 41. For the Beavers, Jeff Wilson, sophomore out of Orinda, California, averaging 1 point a game. 69-49 is our score.
There are a lot of bright days ahead for Pepperdine basketball. They've only got one senior out there that plays a considerable amount for them, and that's Boot Bond. So they're going to be right back in the picture again next year.
There's Orlando, back up, Neverton gets a bucket. And there's the horn ending the game. We'll be back to bring you highlights of today's game after these messages. Final score, Oregon State 70, Pepperdine 51.
Chevrolet dedicates this Camaro, the all-new Z.